A call to tighten the health standard for drinking water in Australia has been rejected by water suppliers who argue this country already has the safest water in the world. But a leading expert on infectious diseases claims the public has a right to be 100% sure that there are no bugs in its water, and the need for tighter scrutiny is even greater if water has been recycled or contaminated by sewage. By next year, 2 of the country's desalination plants will be ingesting seawater within 3 kilometres of sewage outlets. Matt Peacock reports.
Australia is one of the few countries in the world where it's still safe to drink water out of a tap. But now there's a dispute about whether our drinking water standard should be tightened.
We need to have 100% of the time the water that's delivered to the person in their homes or the consumer needs to have no bugs in it and no bugs that represent faecal material.
The water in Australia is inarguably, on the basis of the guidelines we worked to just now, amongst the very best in the world.
This year, an expert National Health and Medical Research Council committee drafted a recommended Australian drinking water standard that banned any trace of the bacterium E. coli. A standard ANU infectious diseases expert, Professor Peter Collignon, fully supports.
The only way we know that there's not bugs in the water you're drinking is to test it, and E. coli is the worldwide standard for that, and there should be no E. coli in the water we're drinking.
But Australian water suppliers claim a total ban's unrealistic, and they've successfully lobbied to keep the standard where it is, at a target of 98% E. coli free.
I think every water authority in Australia will aim at 100%. There is a requirement to have no possible pathogenic bacteria in water, and that's an absolute public health need. But one recognises that in some circumstances, for operational needs, there is the possibility that a few E. coli get past the net. That is at the point of measurement, and in these circumstances it's impractical to use an absolute value of no E. coli at all, mainly because it's so easy to have contamination, either from people's hands or from other sources.
The trouble with 2%, if you, for instance, did a test every day of the year, 2% represents 6 or 7 days where potentially bugs might be coming through the water supply. E. coli is chosen. It is a bug that can cause disease in its own right, but it's chosen because it's easy to grow in the laboratory. What we're really worried about are viruses, for instance, that we can't grow very readily in the laboratory and there's no ready testing for it.
Even that level of contamination, though, is no cause for alarm, according to the industry and research community's Water Quality Research Australia Chair, Michael Moore.
You do need to take it into the perspective of the amount of E. coli that you would be exposed to on a day-to-day basis anyway. From your own hands you would get many more exposures on every day in your life as compared with the few days in the year that you might get 1 or 2 E. coli in water.
The NHMRC today said it was unable to comment on the revised drinking water guidelines until they're issued publicly, probably early next year. As desalination plants have been commissioned in most mainland capital cities, the water quality debate has added resonance. In Queensland and Perth, the intakes are well over 10 kilometres from sewage outlets. But the planned Adelaide plant and existing Sydney operation are only 3 kilometres or less away. And in Sydney, CSIRO research reveals that every few weeks the sewage is washed towards the intake.
About 70 or 80% of the time it's a very strong current flowing north-south, like from the desal inlets down towards Cronulla. We get eddies and the tides wash around, so on occasion we may get some water coming back the other way, but the studies show that if there was any outlet from the Cronulla plant getting back, it would be so diluted that it would really just be lost in the background.
To me, it does appear to be a bit unusual to actually have an intake for a major part of your water supply near a sewage outlet where the modelling suggests that it the water has these bugs in it when it's taken into the plant.
Sampling this quarter revealed an average of 20 E. coli organisms per 100 millilitres of water going into the plant. But according to Sydney Water's Managing Director, Kerry Schott, those bugs are then screened out.
Once it's been through the plant, it goes through treatment and reverse osmosis, and that takes out about 99% of bacteria at least. And then on the way through the plant we have disinfection, and we have disinfection with chlorine before it gets released into the system, and that gets rid of any remaining bacteria.
The trouble is, in some of the testing that's been done overseas when they've used sewage as a source for that, in 3 out of the 7 sites that have been tested, on some of the occasions, viruses have got through those membranes and been in the final water that's produced.
But in Australia, with its higher water standards, say the suppliers, the public has no need to worry.
We meet Australian drinking water quality guidelines easily, and those guidelines are amongst the world's best guidelines for water quality.
And that report was from Matt Peacock.